Hello and welcome. I come from Normative, the carbon accounting engine that helps companies to reach net zero emissions. Today I'm going to explain the Business Carbon Calculator by Normative, a tool for helping SMEs jumpstart their journeys to net zero emissions. We developed the Business Carbon Calculator with the support from google.org and it's available for free via the SME Climate Hub. So why should we help SMEs reduce their emissions? Aren't carbon emissions mostly from big corporations? Well, individually, every small business has a relatively small carbon footprint on its own. But SMEs make up to 90% of the worldwide businesses, meaning that we have to account for these emissions if we want to reach a low carbon economy. Additionally, many SMEs are part of value chains of big corporations as providers of the services, products and resources that go into these corporations' end products. These emissions contribute to those corporates' carbon footprints, so reducing SMEs' emissions means reducing the carbon footprint of every company whose value chain they're part of. That's why SME carbon reduction is vital to meeting Paris-aligned net zero targets. But SMEs actually face a lot of barriers to reducing their emissions. They have less funding, fewer resources, and a lack of knowledge within their businesses to tackle this challenge. These barriers are especially visible in the difficult to measure Scope 3, which on average accounts for 90% of a business emission. With a complex issue like reducing carbon emissions and so many barriers to achieving it, many SMEs feel overwhelmed even trying to start their journey. That's why we have created the Business Carbon Calculator for SMEs to measure the carbon footprint and the first step towards reduction. It is designed to be easy to use but still comprehensive enough to give SMEs a good baseline to start from. We did this with the help from dozens of Googlers who joined to support the development of the Business Carbon Calculator. The tool lives within the SME Climate Hub, which is a UN-backed initiative that helps SMEs join the race to net zero emissions. And the tool can be used in combination with the other resources that the SME Climate Hub gives to its committed companies. I am now going to give you a product demo of the Business Carbon Calculator by Normative. First of all, throughout the journey of calculating your emission with the tool, you will get informational text which helps you along the way. So, for example, we're starting on the screen, you will see that emissions is all about the data. So it's good to start collecting the correct data you need from the get-go. There's also some good information around how that you need to be thorough, that you should try to cover as much as possible, and it will save you data as you go, so you can always go back and forth and revisit anything. So starting off, every calculation is connected to a time period. We also want to know how many employees you have, since the tool is designed to be optimized for 50 employees or lower. But you can use it even if you're bigger than that. We also want to ask about your company's revenue. We then start by asking fuel and energy related questions. So here you can answer the questions if you do have any, and then you will be prompted to answer activity data that you might have. If you answer that you do have something and don't know the actual liters, you can always revert back to cost. We then move on to energy related questions, and then we ask about your facilities and how large they are. We then ask about your electricity consumption. And same here, if you don't know, you can always put in the cost for your electricity. We then ask if you have 100% renewable electricity, which will mean that your emissions are zero in that sphere. And then we move on to the heating, another energy source. So here it's asked if you have any heating, and via which method. In all of these questions, you can see that in the left corner, you always have explanation why we ask a specific question. And you will always get a little tip or an example that will help you answer the question. So here we can answer via which method. Same here, it will ask about kilowatt hours, but if you do not know, we can always fill in the cost. Perfect. Now you're going into the expense part of this tool, which means your supply chain emissions. Here's where you often spend a bit more time. So here it's good to take a break and start phoning your accountant. But here it's important to start with the big stuff and just trying to cover as much as you can. So if we start adding expenses, first we add the total, and then we can start mapping. You can also see how much of your total expenditures that you have mapped. So you can add in these different categories. And then calculate emissions. Now you come to your home page, and here is where you will see your different emission sources. And you will see also, depending on input, how they relate to each other. You can also see the total. You can click into the business carbon calculator methodology if you want to know more how that underlying data was calculated. You can see the industry and the country that you're in. You can edit the data and directly get the updated numbers. So it's easy to use and it's a powerful tool. You can add also new time periods, which you will be able to go forth and back between. You can continue your journey on the SME Climate Hub and see the industry CO2 insights. Furthermore, you can edit your industry and country if you put that incorrectly from the beginning. And you can see what are the different scopes. So this is where you have your emission results. Thank you for listening.